From sports tournaments in high school gymnasiums, to the decrepit slums of a rusted town, to the cats who inhabit art galleries, and the worlds beyond, Taiyo Matsumoto's creativity is forever immortalized through thousands of pages by the ink that adorns them. In that spirit, I'd like to take you all through my Taiyo Matsumoto manga collection. First one I have here is Sunny, a vaguely autobiographical tale of a group of children living in an orphanage. And I say vaguely autobiographical because while he drew on his own experiences living in a children's care home, he himself doesn't consider Sunny to be a biography of sorts. Very few manga actually make me cry, but there were points throughout Sunny that wrecked me pretty badly. One had to do with a cat, and then another with a main character whose transient father drifted back into his life very briefly. There was kind of a bit of a shift from everything else I had read from him before, which was more bombastic or fantastical like Tekkonkinkreet, GoGo Monster, even Pong was an order of magnitude over the top in comparison. This one is a little quieter and a little more rooted, and in the way the story is not just told but also drawn, you can tell just how personal it is to Matsumoto. It's also just a gorgeous release from Viz with these beautiful canvas covers, fantastic paper quality, and impeccable production in the way of translation and lettering. I'm not quite sure how easy it is to get Sunny anymore, but it might be available on the new Viz manga app. I know a lot of his other manga is, but it's not available in my region for me to actually go and check. So if it's not, I'm sorry. If it is, check it out. Blue Spring is a short story collection that follows a bunch of teenage high school delinquents. This is one of his fairly earlier works. I know it came well after Straight, Zero, and I think Hana Otoko. And if only slightly before Tekkonkinkreet, and you can tell by the sort of roughness of his art style. It's not quite as polished or refined, if you will, as his more recent manga, but I think it fits well, especially with the tone of delinquent youths. Viz put this out all the way back in the year of 2001, when I was 10 years old and had no idea what manga was. Which you can kind of see with the old Viz logo and this editor's choice band and pages. I only got this one recently, and for a stupidly, ridiculously cheap price. Like, it goes for 100, 150, sometimes 200 or so on eBay, and I think whoever I got this from didn't know what they had, because I got it for 20 pounds. And it's a great read. It's not my favorite. I'd say it's smack in the middle in terms of ranking, but if you're able to get this without breaking the bank, I'd certainly give it a read. Now, number 5 is one I've been waiting forever to finish. Back in the day, I had the 2 single volumes Viz put out before they canceled the releases for low sales. They were trying to ride off the popularity they had with Tekkonkinkreet, and for whatever reason, number 5 just didn't take off, which I'm kind of surprised about because I know Gerard Way of My Chemical Romance really loves number 5, and he recommended it on MTV one time, I'm pretty sure. I almost want to recommend anyone new to his manga to start with number 5, just for my own amusement because of how abstract and all over the place it can be at times, but I think it's an all-encompassing experience of his passion for comics, not just in writing and drawing them, but in how and from where he draws his inspiration. At the core of it, it's a superhero story, but when you read it, that feels like the least important detail. The world is so strangely familiar, but in the same stroke, so far removed from that familiarity. There's nothing I could say that could really do this justice, so just go pick it up and read it. Like, stop watching this and just go buy it now. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I shot all of this in January and completely forgot about it. Here's Milo, who we got like 2 days before I filmed this, and here's Milo now. Cats of the Louvre is one I still admittedly need to finish. It's not like I read a few pages and put it down and then never thought about it again. I think there's like 2 chapters I haven't read. I was basically reading all of his manga from start to finish. I had gotten to Cats of the Louvre, and as I was reading this, and I'm very sorry to kill the vibe here, folks, one of my cats passed away. It's on my backlog. I'm somewhat terrified that the cats in this die because the cat characters are in many ways more relatable than the human characters, but I will finish it one day. GoGo Monster is one I kind of struggle to recommend to people. In my eyes, it's a very rewarding read, but it's possibly the slowest manga of his. And in the past, when I have recommended it, people have come to me and said like, hey man, I got like 20 pages into this and nothing's happening. It follows a group of school children, one of which can see and talk to these monsters and perceive a sort of impending conflict between 2 groups of monsters, but it's unclear whether they're figments of his imagination or if they're actually real. The only thing is, while the cover is full of these interesting looking creatures, you never see the monsters in the manga at all, which I personally think lends a hand to the storytelling, but I can also see why not seeing monsters in a manga called GoGo Monster about a kid who sees monsters might be a disappointment. I could talk about Pong for days. This is easily one of my top manga of all time. People who have been watching my channel since the early days knew how little I shut up about someone releasing this. I found Pong through the live-action movie that Viz actually put out many, many years ago. I was at this point already infatuated with his manga through Tekkonkinkreet and didn't actually make any connection between the two until the credits rolled. Pong in all forms, be it movie, anime, or manga, is perfect. The characters, especially in the contrasting Smile and Peko, are so well thought out and stand apart with their own personalities and goals and dreams, everything needed to feel like real people. The ping pong matches are drawn so well, you can hear the clack of the ball against the paddles, but most importantly is he's taken what seems like a fun little mundane game and turned it into a heart-wrenching drama, where it feels like everything is on the line and so much rests on just one more match. I love recommending this to people because they'll just go, an entire manga about ping pong, come on, and I'm just like, no, it's so much more than that, just read it. Tekkonkinkreet is another manga I could talk about forever. This is not just my favorite manga, but my favorite piece of fiction, media, whatever of all time. This is the perfect story to me for many reasons, most of which I've talked about in this channel one way or another. It follows two young orphans living in the streets who find themselves caught up with the Yakuza, the police, and an ongoing effort to gentrify their home and replace it with an amusement park. They struggle to adapt to their changing home and fight back to protect it, even at the cost of their relationship and themselves. I read this manga at a time when I was growing up and my city too was changing, and things I liked about it and where I lived didn't exist anymore. I just connected with it in a way that I haven't with other media. I can't really articulate it because it's a personal connection, but I would urge you to at least watch the movie if you won't read the manga. Now, I bought this 3 times now, once in high school, which got lost to a basement flood, once again when I moved to the UK, which is this copy, and again because Viz is releasing a hardcover non-flipped edition that I could not pass up on. I have it pre-ordered, and I don't think it comes out until next year, but I'm excited. Right, now we're getting into my French collection. Matsumoto's manga is a little bit more easy to get and more readily available with a bigger library in France. I think a lot of that is because of their comics culture, but also because Matsumoto draws so much inspiration from BDs. Evil, or Awakening, is a weird little one-shot in the format of a children's picture book. My French isn't quite strong enough to finish it, but the world and the style and the main character named Yuri, I almost wonder if this was a one-shot of, or is in some way connected to number 5. And if you've read number 5, you'll see what I mean as I flip through this. There's a lot of very similar visual elements, especially with respect to the character designs. Discounting not being able to fully read it, it's great to flip through. His art in this kind of large style format is just impeccable. This one is Le Rêve de mon père, or Hana Otoko, which roughly translates to The Dream of My Father. This is one of his earlier works. It's a human drama, but also a sports manga, much like Straight and Zero before it. I've read this on scans before. It follows a kid who just wants to focus on school and getting good grades and just going to a good school in the future, and his carefree father, who is absolutely obsessed with baseball. The kid's mom urges him to spend more time with his father, and in doing so, he starts to receive baseball lessons and kind of grows to love the sport itself. So this is an older manga from the 90s. It's a sports manga, so I don't really think it's ever going to get an English release. If you can read French or Japanese, even if you can't, just find a way to check this out. Here we have the 2 French integral hardcovers of Ping Pong. Fans of this channel from way back remember I got fed up of waiting for an English release and just bought this. And then like 2 months later, Viz announced an English release. I'll be frank, I really prefer this release. The hardcover is really nice. It comes with a built-in bookmark. The paper quality is a lot better. Overall, it's just kind of a nicer production, but now it's just a nice little collector's item. Again, fans of the channel will remember me also getting fed up of waiting for an English release of number 5, and again, I bought the French copy, and again, 2 months later, Viz announced an English release. This has happened so many times to me. Like, it happened with Ping Pong and number 5. It also happened with the Manfa Radiant. There's another one it happened with that I can't remember off the top of my head, and I thought maybe it would work with some other series, but no, I guess it was just 4 super weird coincidences. In this case, I actually prefer the English release. These 2 French omnibuses, there's 4 volumes apiece, they're nice, but the quality kind of sucks. It's very flimsy and the paper quality is not great. It's definitely an edition just made for reading. Like I said, I definitely prefer the English one a lot more. And now we have Takamitsu Samurai, or the Bamboo Samurai. I don't think this is ever going to get an English release unless, and I pray to the gods this happens every day, Science Saru adapts this, which I think is a reasonable dream to have. And the reason I say that is because Masaaki Yuasa has worked with Taiyo Matsumoto. He adapted Ping Pong at Madhouse, and they also worked together on the movie Inu-Oh. Now, Science Saru also worked on the anime Heiki Story, which Taiyo Matsumoto isn't a part of, but Inu-Oh, Heiki Story, and Takamitsu Samurai are all set kind of in the same general time period. So this manga is about a ronin trying to just live a peaceful life, but being unable to in the violent Edo period. Matsumoto only drew this one, he didn't write it, but it's an interesting manga because it has his style, but it also seems to draw inspiration from Ukiyo-e, which mixed with this historical samurai story makes for just one killer manga. I hope this gets an English release, again, not holding my breath, but my new motto recently appears to be, I won't tell you how to read it, just read it. So that was it for his manga in my collection. Just a couple little extras here. So this is one of the 2 Tekkonkinkreet movie art books. Has sketches and concept art and background art. I really wish I got the white one as well when I got this at MCM London, but I, alas, didn't. I also don't want to shell out the money for one on eBay because the last time I checked, they were ridiculously expensive, and I am not made of money. If you're a fan of this movie, pick one of these up. The insight into this movie's production, even from just a visual standpoint, is insane. I love just idly flipping through this. It just serves as such an inspiration for kind of my own creative endeavors. And then the last thing here is the Mangaka Bon Literally Mangaka book, which is a series dedicated to specific mangaka, and obviously I got the Taiyo Matsumoto one. The story of how I got this is me and Calaman on the Shelf saw a tribute drawing of Sunny done by Inyo Asano on Instagram, and we're both sitting like, okay, where did this come from, and how do we get it? And we spent the better part of 2 hours going back and forth on Discord, and eventually found it and then ordered it. Again, it's another thing I can't really fully read, but it's a great little collector's item with some sketches and concepts, a couple mini comics, and excellent art both from him and other mangaka paying tribute to his work. So yeah, that's my Taiyo Matsumoto collection. See ya!